Okay, well, everybody, it's a pleasure. I'm Andrew Wolpe, the President CEO of Magnify Group. I've met quite a few of you, but not all of you, and I'm very pleased to be on here and meeting all of you. So this is a great turnout. We're very excited, after getting through COVID. I think we're all happy to hopefully see the end of this and have our heads up in the air. We are online, virtually. We often do this meeting in person. So hopefully 2023 we'll be able to all get together face to face. Obvious advantages of doing it online is that we get a kind of a vaster attendance, and even have some of our European customers and prospects on here. Going to do, let's just see how many we are, and maybe do a quick hello from everybody, if you could, introducing themselves. We'll start with my team. Or our team, I should say. We'll start with Glenn, my partner and CEO, and then we'll just go down the line. And if everybody could just introduce themselves and say which company they're from and what they do, that would be excellent. And then we'll get going. So once again, Andrew Wolpe, CEO, President of Magnify Group, and Glenn, I turn it over to you.
And yes, a business partner with Andrew for 20 years, and just really very happy to have you all participate. Guests and customers, hopefully next year in person, but we just really appreciate your presence here today. So thank you. Laura, I think you're next.
Hi, I am Laura. I am on the US side. I'm a senior account manager here. I'm going on my 3rd year with Magnify Group. I work closely with some of the US accounts as well as our interactive education programs, which would be our live courses that we host throughout the year. And I'm excited to tell you guys what we have in store this year.
Hello, my name is Michelle DiMatteo. I am an account coordinator at Learn-WiseGo. I'm working on the European team. Yeah, I'm excited to have you here.
I'm Pam from our European office too. I'm an account manager and instructional designer. Today I will be sharing with you some of our recent developments and other exciting news for future developments in our system. I really hope the information that we share today with you is going to be helpful.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lindsay. I'm also located here alongside Laura in the United States, San Diego, California. I am an account manager for Learn-WiseGo, and I also assist with the event coordination and medical education for interactive educational programs. I look forward, I'm going to be discussing the lesson plan user progress reports, overdue notifications, as well as a new library upload feature that we have. And I look forward to my, I believe it's now 3rd users conference.
All right, I guess it's a little difficult to know who's next. Yeah, do you want to just call people out, Laura, and they can introduce themselves? That'll be easiest.
Okay, I'm just going to go down the list. So Ali Kelly, you want to start? Maybe the Nuvasive team, if you want to start.
Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Pentecost. I work for Nuvasive. It's a med tech company and that's headquartered in the United States in San Diego, but it has global presence around the world. I have a friend of ours actually on today. She's in Amsterdam. I have another instructional designer who's joining us too from San Diego, but I basically lead instructional design and e-learning development for our search and education.
There's great user of the system, and we'll be speaking on our group structure within the Nuvasive platform as well in a few minutes. Continuing on, Nancy Erickson from iMed Pharma.
Hi, Nancy Erickson, I'm HR Director for iMed Pharma, who we're dry eye specialists, and look forward to your training. Thank you.
Right. Billy Burtz and Wendy from NextPain. Sorry to put you guys on the spot.
Yeah, hi, this is Wendy. Billy and I work together here at Next Spine in Noblesville, Indiana, which is just outside of Indianapolis. We are a spinal implant instrument med device company, and Billy and I run the training.
Joanna Hansen from Acutus.
Hi, I'm Joanna Hansen. I work for Acutus Medical. I'm the HR generalist. Looking forward to learning more today.
And then Sheila Morgan.
Hi, I'm Sheila Morgan, Director of Training and Education at Neuros Medical. We have an office based in Cleveland, Ohio, and Aliso Viejo, California. And I am just getting started with Learn-WiseGo, so excited to listen in today and hopefully get some tips from my startup.
Yes, Sheila started with us last week, so we were really excited to get her platform all up and live and get some tips and tricks from here. Yvonne from Corn.
Good morning. I'm Yvonne Mayhew. I am the document control and training coordinator here at Corn USA, located in Rainham, Massachusetts.
And then Eric Riley. Is that Eric Ortiz? Which one? We will then go to some of the prospects that are on our class. These would be people that are looking into the Learn-WiseGo system. We're looking to continue with them. So Ziana from Symergy, speak a little bit on your training program.
Yeah, hi. I'll just turn on my camera for this. So I'm Zaina, and I'm from Symergy, which is a medical tech company in Montreal, Canada. And I'm a learning experience designer there. So I'm working on the design of our products as well as the e-learning. And we're looking for like an LMS and other things to really just host. So I'm hoping to learn a lot more about Learn-WiseGo here.
Thank you. And then we have Daniel from Hive Medical.
Yes, good morning. My name is Daniel Beskin. I'm in Los Angeles and really excited to learn more about Learn-WiseGo and what it can do for our company.
Okay. I jumped around a little bit. Did I get everybody on here? Anybody else want to speak or have any kind of opening remarks that you'd like to say?
So, sorry, Laura, just let Mawish introduce herself as well. I think
hello, everyone. I'm the project manager at the Magnify Group. I recently started. It's nice to meet you all, and I'm also looking forward to the user conference and to learn more. Thank you.
All right, great. I appreciate everyone. We may get some people joining late, or we might have missed one or two. We apologize, but we definitely want to get going here. We're going to start out with Glenn, who's now going to give you a little bit of background on Magnify Group and Learn-WiseGo. So Glenn, take it over.
Okay, thank you. If we could put the first slide up, that would be awesome. So we are actually celebrating our 20th year. So we're going to do 20 years in 5 slides in 3 minutes. So that's what we're going to do. And why are we talking about our history? Because I think we can demonstrate successfully that we've continued to adapt our company with changing technology and also the infrastructure of the e-learning industry. So we began and launched a step-by-step animation of surgical techniques in 2003 after researching and developing it prior to that in 2002. Actually received a US patent on the technology. It preceded Flash, and it basically allowed our customers, which were medical device companies, to take a mouse and manipulate the animation step by step, which generated, I would say, a lot of interest very, very quickly. Next slide. By the time we got to 2005, Flash was really taking on pretty significantly, and going against them as the giant they were, subsequently bought by Adobe, wasn't going to be in our interest. So what we did is we took the animation technology we had, applied it to the world of animation, but also built a curriculum around it, which was at the time and to this day remains the most comprehensive spine curriculum actually ever uploaded on the internet. And we can say that with a great degree of certainty, with animations throughout. We had every FDA animation at the time documented, and to this day it still holds the test of time. Next slide, please. By the time we got to 2008, all of our customers who were using either our animations or those in the orthopedic, specifically the spine industry, is saying these are all well and good, but how do we assess knowledge? And so from that, we began the build of our first learning management system and launched it in 2008. And essentially, that's how it looked back in the day. Excuse me. Next slide. Subsequently, excuse me, we actually also were told by our customers that online learning is critical, but didactic learning, hands-on learning is also a critical part of the process. And we launched our first interactive educational program for spine in 2010. It celebrated its 12th year just this last year. It's the largest in the industry of its kind today. And it's been followed subsequently in the years later by lower extremity and hip and knee. And next slide. In 2018, technology was moving very quickly to the point where new standards were being adopted in the learning management system world. SCORM was obviously now way underway, and also on the horizon was what they call XAPI, and those of you in the industry are probably aware of that, which is to say that it was no longer palatable to have a learning management system in which you were held hostage by putting in all of your knowledge into the LMS. There were third-party products out there, Presenter, you know what they are, Articulate, and they are experts in what they do. We're experts in what we do. We needed to build from the ground up a new learning management system that supported third-party products, allowing you, the customer, to determine how you wanted to, as instructional designers, bring in material from third-party products. And so that's what the intent was. And today, as you hopefully know, and to our prospects, what we pride ourselves on is the ability to support you as you find new ways to use the system. And that's why we're here today, because at the end of the day, we realized from the very beginning, I mean, I believe this is almost our 16th, 17th users conference, that we are not users of what we build. We're the architects and the builders. And we never lose sight of that. So we really thank you for being here today. I think that's the last slide. Is that right, Laura?
Yeah.
And that's 20 years in 3 minutes. But hopefully it illustrates to all of you that we're not sitting still. We're continually developing. And then, of course, this is what today's all about. You'll hear from us later today on what we are putting into the system. We're very excited about it. And thank you very much.
So we're going to jump into some of the system practices that we have in place that we've noticed are the best practices within admin's discussions. So one of those would be creating a lesson plan. Again, my name is Laura. Within a lesson plan, what is that? It is a form of pushing out content to your users. There are different ways that you're able to push that content out based off of the parameters of the lesson plan. Reporting wise, with a lesson plan, you're going to be seeing statuses of passed, in progress, failed. Within the training modules, you'll be able to see the scores of the users within those modules. So based off of the questions, how many of those they've answered correctly versus incorrectly. A lesson plan can be assigned to individual users or user groups. And with that, they can also be assigned to all users if they would like to. Training modules within lesson plans are going to be kind of the Lego blocks that you'll be assigning out to your users. Those can be created by uploading MP4 files, PDFs, or SCORE modules, which would be authored through an e-learning authoring tool such as Articulate or iSpring or Captivate. Within the lesson plan itself, you would be pushing out your parameters, which are going to set the style of the lesson plan. There are two different forms of your lesson plan. Either would be sequential or non-sequential. And those are going to dictate the flow that the users are going to be able to go through those training modules. A sequential lesson plan is going to follow the nature of a curriculum within school, essentially. The admin is going to have complete control over the user's flow of the content. The user needs to complete the first training module in order to get to the second one, and they cannot progress without completing those. They would get an overall score on the lesson plan in total and be able to pass each one. A non-sequential lesson plan is kind of the opposite of that, where the user would be able to flow through the training at their own speed. They can be in progress of one of the training modules while still opening up a different training module. And they can only pass through 50% of the lesson plan, meaning they only need to see one of the training modules if two are assigned in there. You can easily see what type of lesson plan it is on the lesson plan listing screen. It'll note there that it's either a non-sequential or sequential lesson plan. When you are creating your lesson plan, you can save as a template and start as a template if you have lesson plans that will be following the same set of parameters. You can then kind of change the parameters if need be, or just continue on with that same flow. This is really useful if you have sub-administrators or administrators creating multiple lesson plans at a time. You also have the ability to set by days or date and control the duration that the lesson plan is lasting in the system. You can attach e-signatures and certificates for the users to be able to download later on, as well as adding surveys to the end of the lesson plan for the user to pull how they enjoyed taking that training. Your settings allow your users to have categories and tabs, which will allow them to easily be able to search those lesson plans in their sidebar. And then your email settings control how often the users are either reminded that they have a lesson plan or that they get notified that they passed or failed that training. The duration of a lesson plan has a lot of control in either internal discussion as well as how the lesson plan is going to perform for the user. You have three different abilities of assigning out. You can assign out by a set days, meaning the amount of days that a user has to take that training. A set date, whether that has a date or it's an infinite training that the user can take at any time. And also allow the course to expire. This would have a fail notification if the user didn't take the training after a set amount of time. Here, for set days, the user would have X amount of time from the day that they were trained or assigned to the training to be able to complete that lesson plan. For set date, the user would be able to have maybe a March 31st date that they would have to complete the lesson plan. If the course is set to expire, then the user can have an overdue notification if they didn't finish the lesson plan within the days or date that it was assigned, to be able to go back into the platform to change that overdue to a pass notification. If they don't, the user would fail that lesson plan. When it comes to reporting, you have dashboard reports within the system that can have a kind of visualized view of what the lesson plans are doing within the system. You have an overview of the lesson plans entirely in the system. So of the users that are assigned to all of the lesson plans, the progress that they are within that. I can also filter this by group as well as date. And I find this on my left-hand side. I can then also view by user performance, individual user performance, as well as user performance within a specific group. And these are all easy snapshots that my admin and sub-administrators can easily pull from the system. And I can also attach these to my main dashboard of the platform so that I can just see these right when I log in. Are there any specific questions on lesson plans, best practices that you guys have, ideas? That's
Thanks, Laura. I think we can move on.
Next, we will bring in Sarah from NuVasive to speak about the practices of their group structures and how they assign some of the lesson plans that they use within the system to those specific groups. Sarah, if you want to speak to some of these slides as well, maybe reintroduce yourself to some of the people that joined.
Sorry, I was just talking away. I was on mute. Thank you, Laura. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Pentecost, and I work for NuVasive, which is, I'm in San Diego. We are a spine med tech company, global company. And so I work for a team that's called Clinical Professional Development. So it's all focused around surgeon education. And in a nutshell, I just basically lead instructional design and e-learning development for surgeon education. And so it was back in 2019, we adopted the LMS, and it's been wonderful. I'm obviously still here, and I'm presenting today, and you know, best customer service you could ask for. And so we have a very niche kind of situation. We're not using LMS for you know, internal folks. It's not like an enterprise-wide system. We're using it again for just surgeons, spine surgeons globally. And so anyways, happy to talk to you about specifically groups, because you know, we have kind of a special situation with our groups, but also I think some of the concepts and the practices that we're using can definitely apply to other folks. So let's go ahead to the next slide, please.
So within groups and the system, you have the ability to kind of organize your users into select audiences that those lesson plans can then be assigned out to. Those groups can be determined based off of geographic areas or kind of the set of trainings that they're going to be required to take. NuVasive has an interesting flow for that. So the who, what, when, why.
Yeah, thanks for that detail, Laura. Yeah, so we choose regions. You know, we have a lot of things that are in common, because again, we have a very targeted audience, right? So you can see that the global surgeon learners, they might be attending an instructor-led training, virtual courses, whatever it can be. And those can be, you know, different topics, etc. But anyways, the regions is what we really have to kind of divide by. And so you'll see, well, I guess we could show this, Laura, but we can make like a parent group. If you think of it as like your main folder, so to speak, would be North America for us. What are your subgroups? And those start to become, you know, the date of the course, the name of the lesson plan, and I'll show you that structure in a second. But, and also I should say, you know, our content, again, this is very kind of a simple, I've worked on a bunch of different LMSs and different teams, and the way we do it is pretty streamlined and simple, even down to you can see what kind of content we have. Laura talked about different content that you can use, whether training modules or lesson plans. Really ours are e-learning courses. We embed videos into Articulate Rise or Storyline. That's the software we use. And like I said, our enrollments are really per region, and it's based on the course calendar. So you'll see that come into play in the naming conventions in a second. And then, of course, you know, our ultimate goal is we really want to drive surgeon adoption of NuVasive procedures. So tracking all of this is super important for us. Next slide, please. So yeah, so you can see, you know, this is very high level, but we're kind of just spread out everywhere. And so that's why we really need this regional grouping. Next slide, please.
So with the group names, as we had mentioned, this is kind of streamlined into where the training is assigned. And Sarah can speak to the overall kind of structure on how these are generated. But this is an easy way to be able to pull through the reports and see your region, the title of the lesson plan within the group name, as well as the date, so that if there are multiple people that are going into the platform to get that information, it's very streamlined. They're used to that kind of terminology and whatnot if they need to be pulling filters within the reports. Sarah.
Yeah, exactly. So, naming conventions, that's a really good part of your design. Before especially if you're new to adopting LearnWise, if you're thinking about it, think about your naming conventions, think about your groups, go through a kind of a workflow design exercise, because once you get into, file management, content management, naming conventions are really important. Again, for us, we start with region, then I go into the lesson plan name. For us, XLIF is our flagship product or procedure, if you will. So that's, that could be happening not only in Europe, that could be happening in APAC on the same date. So we go by kind of the US standardized date there. So that would be March 16th of this year. So 03/16/22. And what you'll see in a moment here is then, because we want to search a lot of times right before a course, we want to make sure, hey, we assign the surgeons, and the prerequisite is that they have to do this online training before they actually go to the instructor-led course or the virtual course. We simply go into that dashboard. We'll show you a screenshot of it. And only thing, you don't have to type in the whole group name. It's really brilliant. You just type in the date, and then it could be, if it's APAC, EMEA, wherever it could be. If we have multiple trainings on the 16th, they all pop up, and you can literally click into it. You can get just a really quick overall group kind of status, or you can drill down. And so that's what Laura's showing right here. I just typed in a date, and it came up with the group, and I can see the status is in progress. And if I really wanted to drill down and see, okay, well, I know some people passed, some people probably haven't accessed, and some people are just in progress. And I can click on that link, and it opens up the entire group, which the group is comprised of individuals. And then we can really just get a quick snapshot. Sometimes I just even take, we don't have there's never more than 10 people in a group, let's say. So I can just take a screenshot, boom, send it off to our regional director, whoever needs to know the information. And it's just kind of a real quick status. It's also really easy if we want to pull reports on different lesson plans. The group names really help us filter out that and separate out that Excel data as well. So we're used to the naming convention. It works for us. Again, we do have kind of a unique situation, but we really start with region first. That's the first part of our naming convention, and that works for us. And so, and you can just see some quick best tips here. We really try to empower everyone to run their own reports as they can. I have a couple of sub admins on the call with us today who are amazing and help so much with that. And they don't have to be LMS. It's just like whoever's on your team and has an interest, let them have a crack at it. Create champions of this stuff. And then any reports that you run, on a weekly or monthly basis, you can make my reports. I don't know if that's something that we can go over, Laura, in more detail later, but yeah. And then again, this reporting dashboard is just, it's so easy. It's so nice to just go straight in. You can look at individuals, you can look at groups, and you don't have to actually run a full report. It's just really kind of quick and just in time need. So yeah, I think that's it, Laura. For the group,
that was That was a great representation of how you guys do your training. And this group lesson plan performance screenshot, you can find that kind of in that dashboard that I had shown in the last slide of my presentation. This can also be pinned directly to the dashboard of your platform. So right when you're logging in, you can easily see that group performance. So it's an easy way to be able to snapshot that information. With the system reports as well, you would be able to schedule all of this information to inboxes, whether those are inside of the system or outside. So if you need like territory managers to get this information as well, they'd be able to easily get that through the My Reports. Yeah. Do you have any specific questions on groups for Sarah or the flow of their training?
I just had a question for Sarah. You may have covered this, and I apologize, but what's the process, Sarah, if you have surgeons who are not in the system but would like to get entry into the system? How do you qualify that?
So essentially, they need to be assigned to a course, something coming up. We don't, so for example, in the login, people can't like request to join. They really have to be, they have to be vetted by NuVasive. We have to decide. There's some occasional situations where maybe there's a surgeon we've worked with for a long time. They've already adopted NuVasive product procedures, but they need a refresher. Usually someone, higher up will say, hey, can we please enroll Dr. Abel? And then that's a one-off situation. But yeah, for the most part, it's surgeons are enrolled, we've totally vetted, and that's how we decide who gets in. Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Lindsay, you looked like you were talking earlier, but you were on mute. Did you have a question?
I apologize for that. I'm going through my phone as well, so I unmuted myself. But I was just going to say that in addition to what Sarah and Laura were talking about with groups and then reporting by groups, if there are any additional questions for Sarah, I'll also be touching on that as well later on in a separate presentation. And Sarah, please feel free to jump in at any time if you have anything specific to add as well.
Yes. Flowing into kind of the last portion of that discussion, external user sign up within customer education. So this would be a different form of creating user accounts. If an admin is creating the user account, that would be more for your internal training. So those are going to be assigning out your compliance courses or things to your internal team. Learn-WiseGo can also offer a form of customer education. This can be a way to share modules or information quickly with externally facing users that might not have as much information within your company to be able to access this type of a platform. It's important to educate your customers or your surgeons, not just your employees, because it adds ability to your sales force as well as insight into the company's mottos as well as features. You can build the brands as well as give a goal to your ROI for your sales. Features of this allow for your users to register directly from the login screen of Learn-WiseGo. They can add in custom fields, maybe mapping in the location that they're coming from, the center that they're coming from, or the director that they're going into through the manager email that they can add in. They can also complete lesson plans directly from the sign up features after they've created their accounts, and they can attend webinars from the system. So you could push out Zoom calls or even classroom trainings. You'll be able to assign the users to maybe a cadaver lab to be able to get a code to put back into the system to log their attendance. And then also assign out training modules to the users after those instructor-led trainings, as well as view all of this information through the report system of the platform. Like when the users would be logging in with their username and password, in the bottom right-hand corner of this screen, you would be able to see a little sign up section if you have an external user-facing platform. Within the sign up fields, your user would be putting in their first name, last name, username, and email address, as well as any other fields that you are requiring. So maybe the role that they have within the system, if they're a surgeon, a learner, or vice versa, maybe the year that they came into the system, those type of fields. The user then is either automatically added to the system or the admin would have to manually add the user to the system. When that happens, the admin would get an email either notifying that a new user account has been created within the system or that there's a user account that they would need to go in and manually approve. This would add a layer of security to the system. That way the admin always knows what accounts are going into the system. If it's manually approved, anybody that does create an account will go against the user total. Once the user has created an account, you can set your lesson plans to just assign to all users. When they are assigned to all users within the system, as well as users created on a going forward basis, will be front loaded that content. So they could easily take a lesson plan immediately, access library files, be invited to Zoom calls, those forms directly after creating their account. They would get all of those emails as well. Your lesson plan contents can change via the different training modules that are available within the system. You can add in score modules to either train or quiz your surgeons or customers, as well as add in PDFs or MP4s. You can put in pre-recorded trainings of Zoom calls if they are historic data that your users are able to view directly from here. Then the users are able to get an e-signature on that lesson plan, as well as a certificate of completion. Within integrations of the system as well, we can share this information through a CRM tool. That way, people that are outside of the system are able to see their compliancy of that product training, be able to see that they're easily passed through that training. And then the reports as well, as we mentioned, can be scheduled to a specific inbox so that that information is done. These can be my reports as well, meaning that they are filtered out to have specific data being accrued into it every time. So if you just want to be seeing the past information on a specific lesson plan, you would set the status so that it shows pass and then the lesson plan name. You could even just follow the past notifications of a specific user and have that scheduled to your inbox as well. The reports would be able to be shared directly to area representatives or anybody that needs to track that completion. You can also add in calendar invites to the users. This would be either those cadaver labs that they need to attend or any other form of trainings or sales trainings that they would be interested in. And with the integrations of the system, we could either have a single sign-on so that your users are directly creating their accounts through one kind of area that you would be signing through, or send that information to other platforms like a Salesforce to have those training records go through the pipelines. Any specific questions on customer education or how you could use it? Get some people into the waiting room.
Hey, Laura, this is a question from me. I know we have a few clients who are using it exclusively, using Learn-WiseGo exclusively for customer education. If you're using it for internal and you wanted to do it for customer, would you use the same site? Is that feasible, or is it better to have a second site? And you know, without, you don't want to get a mixed message, obviously, to the two different audiences.
Yeah, correct. So you want to have most likely two separate platforms. That way you can group those users completely and differently, and you would be able to have two separate welcome messages directed to those users, because most likely they're going to be coming into the system for different content. On a customer side facing, these welcome messages as well as login images, so that would be that front page that the user sees when they're logging in. That's a great area to put maybe like product information or directions on how they should go through the platform. Like you have a lesson plan and then a library file to view. That way it's a very kind of snapshot of what they need to see, versus your internal training side. Those ones are going to have a little bit more lesson plan structure, group structure, kind of the training that we had previously discussed.
Okay, thanks. And just to the audience, you know, if you are interested, if you are doing internal and you want to do external, yeah, just reach out to your account manager and we can share the pricing, obviously, for setting that up. It's a little bit different pricing because external customers, yeah, you probably get a higher volume and a lower frequency. So they may come in once or twice or three times, but they're not going to come in, you know, 40, 50 times a year. So we do have different pricing for that. So please, you know, do reach out.
So now we're going to flow into some of the completed developments that we've worked on in the past year. We'll be kind of popcorning presentations here. So starting off, Andrew, on some previous GDPR updates.
All right, sorry, that's I'm back. Yeah, well, you're moving too fast. I'm not going to take too long on each item. Just a quick list of what we've done. We underwent an audit probably middle of last year to review our GDPR status. and did identify some items based on changes in the regulation that we really need to get in place. So we kind of put our foot to the throttle, and these are some of the new developments that we have done. So just click to the next slide, Laura. End-to-end encryption. This came out, it was quite interesting that with GDPR, not only the password has to be encrypted, but obviously any other private fields, and private fields would be first name, last name, date of birth, payroll records, a lot of things we don't even keep in the system, but we elected to make every field in our system fully encrypted. And that way, no matter what you capture, there's full encryption in place. So for example, if you did do that self-sign-up form and you wanted to capture, for whatever reason, date of birth or some banking information, you could and be assured that it is encrypted. So that's the good news there. That is up and running and has been up and running for probably 3 or 4 months now. Let's go to the next slide. And I just realized, for those of you not familiar with GDPR, this is the privacy regulations put in place in Europe, which are far more stringent than most in the US. California has pretty strict requirements in place, which pretty much mirror what's in place in Europe. And this is all about protecting individuals' information. And sorry, I should have started with that. So encryption, the second part here is privacy and consent. We have a full and always had a privacy policy and allow you as a customer also to have a privacy policy in the system. A user on first login does have to check off. That was always there. We added a consent option where the user actually has to select on first login that they consent to receiving correspondence via email. So that's now in place and up and running as well. Our privacy policies also are available for review and access throughout the site. Okay, next slide. One of the requirements from GDPR was that the individual has the ability to actually extract their training record. This is something we had to add in the system. So now you'll notice on the user side, this is not an admin function. On the user side, under lesson plans, webinar and classroom trainings and certifications, their completions, there's an export to Excel option. So they can actually pull out that data and keep it and have it available for themselves. Another requirement is for the ability on user request to delete the entire record. So an individual calls in and says, hey, I've left the company, or for whatever reason, I want my training data erased. You would need to reach out to us, and then we would go in and erase that entire user record, and that'll be completely erased from the system. All right, next slide. This is a technical firewall that we've put in place. We're actually rolling this out more or less as we speak. It's a threat detection system. We've had it up and running for a couple of weeks now, and we're just evaluating the type of records that are getting put in there as, let's say, they would be rejected. And often these are legitimate requests. So for example, we'll use NuVasive. A user from NuVasive requests access to the system. Obviously, they should be allowed in. We don't want to block them. So we're analyzing all the legitimate requests, and within the next 2 weeks, we'll have this firewall in place. Just a note to those of you on the phone, on the call, and we will send this out later on. If you do face any rejections because the firewall is capturing it, you let us know and we can release them. We don't expect that to be an issue, and we'll have appropriate messaging on the screen. But that could occur. Just keep in mind the idea we have this in place is to reject and eliminate external threats. There may be a legitimate request that gets blocked by the system, and we will fix that as soon as possible. All right, next slide. This is something we've now have in place, and some of our clients, especially European-based clients, have already signed off on these data processing agreements. In fact, we have one client who's now owned by Olympus, who's is having us sign off on their own data processing agreement. And basically what these are documents that specify the different roles within the system. So for example, Learn-WiseGo is the data processor. We're processing the data. You as the customer are the data controller because you're controlling whose information goes in the system. This agreement controls the relationship between the two of us and specifies exactly who is responsible for what. So we will be getting those out to all our European clients, and anyone actually who's using our system in Europe will need to have one of these in place. The second piece of this is magnify us and sub-processes. So within our environment, we have a development team we use. They're a sub-processor. We use Microsoft Azure as a sub-processor. We use SendGrid to send out emails, Zoom. So we have specific agreements in place with all these sub-processors that ensure that they are meeting the same requirements as specified in the data processing agreement with our clients. So all of that is now currently in place. Next slide. Data privacy policies. If you're interested, we have these. They're not. There's probably 8 or 9 different policies that we now have in place, including our data security team. If there is a breach, who do you contact, and the process for managing that breach? Internal IT security policies, data retention policies. How long do we keep the data, and what if you want us to eliminate that data? What happens? I mentioned this. If there is a breach, who do you reach out to, and how do we manage that breach? And again, these are available for review if you need them. If your compliance group or regulatory requests them, they are available. All right, next slide. We, at the beginning, actually 28th of March, we're starting it. We're going to go through our next audit, and these are third-party audits done by external companies. This little icon here is actually a little bit of a, let's say it's not 100% accurate because GDPR compliant. There's no third party who can tell you GDPR compliant. They can only tell you that all the requirements that are outlined you have met. And based on everything I've just been through, we're 100% confident we're going to meet those. So we're going to get recertified in April this year, and we will make that report available on request. That's it from me on GDPR. I know very kind of technical information. Any questions, please feel free to reach out again to your account managers or to me directly. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, thank you for the technical part of the GDPR. I'm going to keep talking about GDPR for a bit. Just showing you very quickly 3 slides of physical things that you're going to be able to see in your platform if you are an existing client or as new clients in our Learn-WiseGo. This is independent if you are in Europe or in the US. All of these screens are going to show for you if you are logging into LearnWise. So the first one that I'm going to show is the user consent. This is the message. The one that you see in the screen is the message that you are going to have to agree. If you are a user, if you are a subadmin, or if you are an admin, and you log in for the first time in our system. You can access through these links the user agreements and the privacy policy. Also, if you have an internal policy with your company, can put this policy here, and the users have to agree to that policy if they want to log it into the system. If the user agrees, a message gets also the data gets saved. The same if the user declines, and then we're going to see a report where all these consents are recorded. So Laura, if you can go to the next slide, please. In the system reports, you're going to be able to see a list of reports, and among them, this is the consent report. If you open this report, you're going to find the information of the username, the first name, last name, the email address, and the date that this was accepted. Optionally, you can add the group where this user is located as well. So you will always have this information available in case of an audit. Next slide. Another feature that we have available for you is the possibility to view our policies, privacy policies all the time in all the screens of our site. So on the bottom, you're going to have a link to the privacy policy as an admin, and also all users have access to these different links. And I think that's a wrap up about GDPR. If you have any questions, please let us know. If you need any documentation for audit purposes, please let us know. We'll make sure that we get that to you. Now we're going to keep talking about some developments that we completed this year. Please, next slide. So this year, some of our clients needed to organize their trainings with some managers being able to track and see what the users were doing and how their teams was having their training progress. So we added a new feature that is called adding manager email. And we also have the feature, this is an existing feature, but I think it's very relevant to just remind our existing users and let our new users to know that this possibility exists. That is to add group manager as a privilege for subadmins. So the objective of this was to be able to add this information or notifications for a manager in a team in the company to be able to see the progress of their users. So let's start with adding the manager email. So please, next slide. So this feature can be accessed in two ways. The first one is when an admin creates a user, and the option of manager emails is added to the parameters. So if, let's say, a person from distributors, that's the team in the company, we add the manager email there, then this manager is going to be able to receive the notifications that a user was assigned to different courses, to different lesson plans and certification modules. If the email is set, this manager can also receive emails if the user passed the lesson or if the user failed the lesson. So please, next slide. So in order for this to work, the admin needs to select the option to send emails to managers by checking the checkbox in the email template. So our system has email templates for all the notifications that are sent to the users. If the admin decides to click on send mail to managers, then automatically the system is going to start sending these email notifications to the managers so they know if the user was assigned or passed or failed any of these lessons. Next slide. Now, the second feature that is going to help managers track the progress of the training for their team, it is based on adding this manager as a subadmin. So remember that in our system, we have different roles. We have a main admin that is able to overview the progress of everybody. Then we have subadmins that are helpers for this main admin that can be in charge of everybody in the system, but also to specific groups. So this is how this feature gets handy. So you can create a subadmin. This subadmin can be one manager in your company. And then this manager can track the performance of the team members. And you can achieve this by following just 3 steps. First of all, you create the submanager account for a specific manager or for all the managers of different teams in your company. Then you create a group for the team members. Each team members belong to a group, and that group is going to be the team. And then you can assign this team to the manager's subadmin account. It's going to be through groups. So the team and group words are interchangeable here. So if you create your group, put all the team members there, then you assign this team or group to this manager, then the manager is going to be able to see in the system how the users that belong to that group are doing. And not only in the lesson plan level credentialing, but also if they attend the webinars and other details that the platform can provide in all the system reports. If you have any questions regarding to this feature, please feel free. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Okay, guess we can continue.
Pass it over to Lindsay.
All right, and just to reintroduce myself, my name is Lindsay, and I'm an account manager for Learn-WiseGo. I'm based here in San Diego, California. So what I was mentioning earlier, after Sarah's presentation from NuVasive, I'm just going to go into the lesson plan user progress report, but a new development is to actually see it by group as opposed to just the users. So within your system, on the left-hand side, there is the pie icon for our system reports. We do have automatic generated reports already for you to access and for your convenience. So all you have to do is scroll down to the lesson plan user progress report and select it. For this, you can also highlight and star it if this is something that you're going to be using either weekly or monthly. Once that is selected, the next slide. This will then take you to the report. Here you can see that you have selected columns. As mentioned, they're automatically generated: username, lesson plan name, statics, etc., which can also be filtered through, just depending on what you will need for that specific report. For this one specifically, in the right-hand side, I have an arrow where you can actually view this by the group. Once that's selected, you can go to the next slide. The report will automatically generate where you can see the group name, as well as the username that is assigned to the group, the lesson plan name, the status, and then of course to your preference, you can filter through whether or not you want their zip code, their dates, and really customize it to your reporting. Are there any questions in regards to reports by group? I feel like Sarah did a very good job, so that's why we don't have any questions. For our next development, we are going to an lesson plan overdue notification. This also touches on a little bit of what Laura mentioned earlier in our best practices for all of our administrators in creating a lesson plan. So I will just kind of have an overview of what it means to have the duration of a lesson plan, and then why it is important to send an overdue notification. Next slide. So within the lesson plan, it can be created in 3 easy steps. First and foremost, you do want to select the parameters for your lesson plan. Here you will see that you can set it to either days, set date, or you can also have your course set to expire. Just to kind of go over again, setting a lesson plan and the duration, you could either set the days, which the users will have an X number of days to complete the lesson plan from the days they're assigned. Lesson plans can be assigned indefinitely with the allotted days. You could set the date where the users will have until a set date that the lesson plan is due. And if no date is selected, the users will have an endless amount of time to complete the lesson plan. You can also have the course set to expire, and if they have not completed the lesson plan within the allotted time, the setting will allow the user extra days after the expiration to complete the lesson plan. This is a question that we really like to work with our admins, and like I said, this is also for your preference in the way that you want to typically we do Typically, we do recommend that if you want your users to have unlimited time to take the lessons and you want to be able to assign this lesson to the user indefinitely, we do have a recommended settings where you can click on set date. You could leave the field blank and do not check set to expire. If you want the users to have a set number of days to complete the lesson, it's okay if they fail due to missing the deadline, but you want to be able to assign the lesson to new users indefinitely. We recommend that you click set days, input the number of days, check set to expire, which will then, if they do not complete it before the expiration date, will fail. After that, you can add a number of extension days. If you want your users to have a set number of days to complete the lesson, but don't want them to fail if they miss the deadline, you can click set days, input the number of days, and then do not check set to expire. And then if you want all of your users to have the same deadline date, it's okay if they fail due to missing a deadline. You can click on set date, input the due date, check set to expire, and then add a number of days. This can all be accessed as well on our frequently asked questions and our administrative handbook too for your resources. Once you're in the lesson plan, you'll scroll down to your email settings. From there, you can send an overdue notification. This will say what time you would like it to be overdue, as well as when you would like this email message sent out to your users. Sometimes we do receive that the users, whether or not they saw their email, that they didn't realize that they were assigned to a lesson plan. So this is just another form of communication as an administrator to where you can reach out to your users and let them know that they have been assigned to a lesson plan, as well as when the lesson plan is overdue. If you would like, we do have an email message that is defaulted in the next slide, but you can also edit it for your preference as well. If you'd like, in the bottom right-hand corner, you can also update the template as well. Are there any questions in regards to lesson plan overdue notifications?
Lindsay, not a question, just a point to our guests, and I think our existing clients know this, but if you want to be in FDA mode, compliant mode, in the event of any unlikely audit from the FDA, you're not in a position to change the date of a lesson plan. And we allow you to do that by clicking the box in the admin section to say that this lesson plan will be in FDA mode. The FDA requires, once you submit a knowledge check or a lesson plan to your users, you're not in a position to go back and alter the parameters of that once it's assigned. So that we give you the choice.
That check is lock duration as well, by the way.
Are there any additional questions?
Okay.
So moving on to our next development, we do have a library upload report. So kind of reverting back to our report systems that we have developed over the past year. This is also really geared towards our administrators. It's an additional organizational tool within our reporting system. It gives you quality control over anything that has been uploaded into the library. It's also used for auditing purposes. If you are an administrator and you do have the opportunity to have sub-administrators, with that, you do give them privileges, which either allows them privileges to upload content into the library or not. If you do allow your sub-administrators to upload content, this reporting tool will give you access to see the activity going on within the platform for this specific reporting. It'll also tell you who's uploaded files in the library, as I mentioned, if you do have given those privileges to your sub-administrators, and then also lets you know what files are currently within your library. To access the report, pardon me, you would select the pie chart on the bottom left-hand corner. Once that is selected, that will then take you again to your system reports where they're automatically generated. Slide. The report is called Library Upload Report. On the right-hand side, there is a search bar where you can input this directly, and it'll automatically filter through. As well, you can just use your mouse and scroll down until you select Library Upload. Next slide. These are the columns that will be within the report. You will see the BU ID, which is the business unit ID, as well as the folder trail, which is the path of where the folder is contained. So the parent folder and then the subfolders within the file name, the created date, and then uploaded by username, and then their first and last name, and then their administrative role, whether they're an admin or sub-administrator. Similar to all of our other reports, you have the opportunity to generate the report and then export it to Excel if you'd like to share that amongst any additional team members. And then you can also save it as your own report as well. Here you'll see essentially what it would look like once the report is generated. You'll see the folder trail, file name, created date, uploaded first, uploaded last name. Are there any questions in regards to the library upload report? Or has anyone used the report yet? Has any feedback?
One of my admins didn't make it on this call, but this is a kind of easy way as well to be able to see what your sub-administrators and administrators are doing within the library, as that filter column did have the BU admin that's uploading it. You're going to be able to see which sub-administrators are putting files within the platform if you do need to be doing those type of auditing purposes, or if you need to have that information on an Excel file within the system's data. And I'll take over on customers sending or customized sender email, sorry. Within here, you do now have the ability to customize the sender name as well as domain name that the system will be sending emails to your users, as well as add in a reply to email for the emails that are sending from the system. So here shows on the left-hand side what a customized image is going to look. So the highlights versions, this would be my sender name. So for example, this was customized. And then my domain name is also here customized. These can be completely separate words. For example, I know we've been using it, but Nuvasive and then Nuvasive at Learn-WiseGo. It's a way to make it a little bit more brand specific versus the right-hand side is the standard form for the platform sending out admin- your platform name at Learn-WiseGo. If you have a domain that's running off of your custom domain, so yourcompany.com, that would then reflect here with just a sender name that you're able to adjust. So with this said, it is a nice way to put brand consistency a little bit more front on the platform, a little bit of a way to take Learn-WiseGo out of it and put your company name front and forward. This is something that we will have to put on the system itself. So please reach out to your account managers if this is something that you're interested in. For the reply to email aspect though, this is something that the administrators and sub-administrators are able to control within the system. You'll find this in the general information settings of the system. Here now, any system email that gets sent to a user, if they hit the reply section, they can have an email sent directly to the address that's added in the general settings field. Otherwise, it would just be sent to a no reply email and the user would get an email back saying that it wasn't a email that could receive emails. Any specific questions on how this could be used? It's pretty straightforward.
Laura,
yes.
Just explain a little bit again. I wasn't quite clear. What do you actually need to get from us to implement versus what's available as a choice for the administrator?
Yeah, so if you want to change the name of what the emails are sending out, so the sender's email as well as that first part of the @ domain, we just need to know what that would be, and then we can add that into the platform. It's the reply to email that the admins have the ability to add the email address through the general
You mean
settings.
if the person that email is going out to has changed their email address? Is that what you mean?
No, just responding back to any system emails that's sent. So if a user gets a reset password or even an account creation or assigned to group, if they had questions on that communication, normally it would just be sending to a no reply email. So they would get a notification that that email was a bounce back. If through the general settings of the platform as an administrator, you add an email address to that field, your users would then be emailing maybe a generic email that you have for overall support for your users, i.e. info@company.com.
So we'll put that up as a FAQ or like a little guide on when to call and whatnot on our site.
Yeah,
me personally, I'm not 100% clear on that. But when to ask us, okay. Unless I'm missing something, I feel like we need to clarify that. Okay.
When you want to change, instead of it just being system administrator @learnwisego.com as the email that's sending from the system. So if you want to customize that to your company name, you'll be able to let us know that and we can change it. Go ahead and get started with the second portion of the users conference. We're going to have a few presentations, one on some integration aspects that the system can do currently, as well as some articulate tips and tricks, and then going into our pipeline for the next coming year, and then hear from you guys as admins, how you guys are using the system, as well as ways that you'd like to see it grow within the next year. So I will be discussing some integrations with regard to single sign-on and how that works. So single sign-on and the integration aspect within the system allows you to link information either from or to Learn-WiseGo, either from CRMs, document management tools, or HR databases. It's an easy way to streamline between platforms with user accounts or user information and records. So if you need to take training records to Salesforce to be able to drive those pipelines as previously discussed, or if you want to have one centralized location, like one login, for example, for your users to be able to access multiple different platforms at once. So they would be able to go in through one login to be able to access Learn-WiseGo, as well as maybe ADP payroll or something of those natures. Those would be single sign-ons, meaning the same credentials for both. Users would be passed through both systems and have user accounts within each to be able to access the trainings. This information will be passed between, those are timer. This information will be passed between the system on a determined basis. So we will map out the fields that the system is going to be bringing in as well as taking out. On what interval those fields will be going in. So for the example of one login, the users are created within one login and then they are added to the Learn-WiseGo system. Those users are created on a 4-hour interval. So each user created within one login will show within the Learn-WiseGo system after 4 hours. After that, the user is able to access Learn-WiseGo directly from the one login homepage. So they're able to have a seamless interface between both of those systems. The user can then navigate through Learn-WiseGo as they would without the single sign-on. So the same flow that they would be going through training modules and lesson plans, they would still be able to access instructor-led trainings, all of that. It would just be through a different form of logging in. As an administrator, you're able to add this into the system through the general settings section, you'll take in the login credentials of your OneLogin account and then add it to the system. OneLogin is just one example. There is also different forms of a single sign-on. There's a Zura AD that can be added in, as well as different forms that can be developed. Oracle is also one of the corporate leaders that can be looked into. Things to think about when integrating between these different platforms is the data synchronization. So if that's going to be internal versus external data that's passed through. The reports and training data that can be pushed directly into systems or kind of added in information, as well as if they're able to log in directly from those systems, or if it's information that's getting passed back and forth. It's an easy way to be able to document certifications of users. So if they've passed a training within Learn-WiseGo, it would then show that they are also passed a training through your Salesforce notifications or whatnot. So you're able to share training data directly from territory managers that might not be within the Learn-WiseGo system, but instead focusing a little bit more heavily on Salesforce out in the field. Things to think about when looking at an integration, again, is that interval, that information is going to be shared between the system. So if it's going to be passed very fast, or if it's something that's maybe updating every week or every month with new information, and then the amount of data that's being shared. So are we getting all of the user fields as well as their completion records? Or is it more just fine-tuned on specific things? And that's going to kind of take to that first point of the interval of information that could be shared between the system. And then the ability of the single sign-on. So are your users going to have one location to be able to access all of their training needs if it's maybe other systems that are involved as well? Any specific questions on single sign-ons? I don't know if anybody on here currently is. Joanna, if you're here, you can kind of speak to the flow of Acutus using single sign-on.
Well, that's definitely something that's helpful. Yeah, we've been using it, and it's easier for employees to access the trainings, and we have had a good experience with it. Definitely.
So their users will be. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just going to comment that, you know, this can be implemented once you're up and running or before you go live. It's not something that has to be decided before moving forward. We can go and implement that at any time. There is obviously some interaction with your development team, or depending on which software you're using for the original login, like OneLogin or Octo, whatever it might be. So, but we can do that at any time.
Pass it over to Europe, Pam.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. So I will be talking about content creation. Actually, this is a part of the training program for all our clients and companies that it is key when creating the programs, the educational programs, and also it's key for companies that are starting with the e-learning world and want to know how can then create modules and create good learning experiences for all their users. So even though you can use Learn-WiseGo with PDFs, videos, PowerPoints that you already have, to make the most of our e-learning platform, it is key to have a good tool or authoring tool to create e-learning modules. Some of you are experienced admins and are already familiar with many tools. Probably some of you are using tools such as Adobe Captivate, the Articulate Suite, iSpring, and others. Those are the three suites that we support in our system. And I'm sure all of you instructional designers out there are always looking for good tools to make your e-learning more enjoyable for your users. So today I will be talking about RISE 360, which is fully compatible with our Learn-WiseGo platform. And the reason why I'm talking about RISE 360 is because it's trending. among admins and among new e-learning teams in companies that are starting their e-learning programs. And the reason why this tool is becoming very popular is that it has clear advantages when creating courses. This tool is part of the Articulate suite, which means if you already are using a tool like a Storyline or Review 360, this is part of that group of tools. If you have an account with Articulate, that means that you have access to this tool. Some of the advantages of the tool is that it's 100% browse-based tool, which means the problem that you had in the past with other tools that but you didn't save, for example, you can lose hours of work. And I know all of us instructional designers have suffered that problem at some point. So this will save automatically all your changes in your courses. It's very easy to learn. It kind of walks you through the whole process by itself. It has a finished and elegant style already, so you don't have to worry about programming all these things on your own. You can develop courses faster. So in case you have high demand of a lot of courses, this is going to speed up your process. The end product is very responsive in multiple devices and interfaces. The learning navigation is easy, so the users don't have to worry too much about where to go. It's scrolling down, that's it. And for teams, it's key that the review cycle is easy, so you can get feedback from other team members. Since this is a tool that is part of the Articulate suite, Articulate doesn't really have a training program, official training program for new users. It's a very big company, so they don't really have those tools out there necessarily to talk to you and walk you through how to integrate this. Since we use this tool with our system, we train you on how to use it. We walk you through all the steps from the beginning of creation of your courses until you put your final product in Learn-WiseGo and distribute it to your users and groups. So if you are interested in scheduling a training, if you're already a client, or if you want to know more about what type of tools and what type of training you can create using this tool, please let us know. We are very happy to walk you through all the process. Not only with the REST 360, although we encourage you to take a look at it because it's really modern and it's like the state of the art of e-learning. So, but if you have other questions regarding to Storyline or Adobe Captivate or iSpring, we will also be able to help you. So I think that's it for content creation, but if you have any questions, please let me know. Are you using Rise? Are you using Storyline? Maybe if you are out there and very new to the e-learning, you are not very familiar with these names, but you will when creating your e-learning program.
Time for any questions on modules or anything like that?
Cool.
I'll flow into some of the things that we have coming up in the next few months. So our coming soon pipeline. To get still over to Pam on some new developments that will be unveiled.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Laura. Yes, during the incoming months, we will be working on very exciting developments. These ideas actually came from clients, from admins like you that work on the system. And these developments are based on needs that come from the day-to-day workflow of you, the admins, and also some users. So we hope that these new developments help your training programs too. And also for our prospects to take a look at what's coming. And we want to let you know that we are always in the move. We're always developing new things that are useful for all of our clients. So one of the exciting developments that we are coming is that the users will be able to see their progress on their dashboard. So far, the users are able to see the lessons that they have completed, the webinars they have attended, in their specific section, in the lessons section, or in the webinar section, or in the courses, credentialing courses section. Now there's going to be a widget in the user dashboard where they can see how many pending lesson plans are available for them to complete, the lesson status, and some stats on the progress of their training. Also, they're going to be able to see the hours that they are training, they have spent during the training, and they can be able to filter this in between mandatory lessons or optional lessons, so they can get a better sense of how is the progress going. Also, this visuals incentivates the user to complete lessons. Next slide. Since we're gonna tackle the training time, of course, this information is also going to be available for the admins to generate reports for the leadership or for auditing purposes. And this new report is going to have the information of how much time, or it's going to answer the question of how long are users spending taking their trainings. So this is going to be shown at the general level. So the admin can actually filter this by time frame. Let's say this month, how long the user are spending in the lessons. And then in more detail, if you click on the number of lessons viewed, the admin is going to be able to see the actual details of what lesson plans were accessed during this time and the status of that lesson. Next slide, please. Another cool feature that is coming, and it was asked by some of our clients, was to be able to see where are the files being assigned and used in the system. So we have our central repository, that is the database where all the files that an admin uploads to the system are stored and located. Sometimes when you have a very big academy, there are many files in many folders, and you want to know where a specific file is being used. Sometimes these files are being used as training modules. Sometimes they have been used in the library or as part of a quick training. So the idea is that now, when this gets developed, we are going to be able to see these assignments by right-clicking on the file, then clicking on assignments, and then we're going to have a display of the location of this assignment and also the type of assignment. Another cool feature is that you can export to Excel these file locations. So if you need to do any replacement or fix any file, then you have a list of all these files in a single spot. Next slide. All right, so I think we're gonna go ahead and talk about the Power BI and reports. This is a very cool new development. Michelle will be talking about this one. So,
let you share your screen, Michelle.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Pam. Hello again. I am Michelle DiMattia. I am an account coordinator. And today I will be talking about the Power BI and reports. As Pam has informed you, we have been in progress in the upcoming months. We'll be launching our new integration called Power BI. The Power BI is an interactive data management and a visualization tool that will allow our admins to access detailed data. In addition, you will be able to organize and filter the information about training efforts. The first production we are going to launch is the login reports that you can see here. So this report will show you a graph about what users or admins had logged in within a certain time frame into the system. So now I'm going to show you a video of where you can find it. So if you open the yellow arrow and you can expand your menu, if you go under the systems reports, there should be a Power BI reports. As you can see all the user's details. So like the number of logins, the last time they logged in, the roles or the emails. It could also be converted into a visual charts. As you can see, this is a pie chart. And then there's a bar graph. You could also find more detail about the user if you expand the visual. So for this one, you could just hover. And the bar chart, you can just click on them, or you can also create it into a table if you want it more organized and detailed. You could also view this information by just going by groups. So there's an example. So here's all of our different groups. If you click on the plus button, you will see all the details of the users within the groups. So example, North America, there's Pam, Martin, and it also tells you all the emails and even the total of time they've been in the system. You could also have a quick access if you want to filter just this year or this month or this week. You could also export all of this user information into an Excel file. And this is all the user information. You can also create a schedule where you want your reports to be sent out. So it's to the people that you have assigned the admins or even the email address. You can set them into days or even months, weeks, or years. You can even have an end date, so like a specific date if you like. So overall in the pipeline, we have other interactive reports coming soon, but we will let you know when each of these reports will be released to the admins. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Thanks, Michelle. I just wanted to add for those that are wondering why these reports, when there are so many others, we prioritize based upon feedback and usage, and that's pretty much where we're going with the reports in terms of priorities first. There's a lot of development as we build them out, so we're prioritizing based upon what we've heard from you. And as you move into Power BI and using these reports, we welcome feedback in terms of what else you would like for the second phase of those. Is that right, Laura, or did I just make that up?
No, that's completely right. Power BI allows you to take reporting to a different place than it currently is. It kind of allows you to take the Excel functions and bring it into the system a little bit more streamlined. You can add those pie charts as well as graphs directly there. And the filtrations that you can do within these Power BI reports, you're able to see the last login date versus how often the users are logging in during a set amount of time. You can really kind of take that data down to as fine point as you would like within the system, and then schedule those reports out as well as create them as my reports.
So let's break it down in terms of realistic examples. Let's say, for example, you've noticed once you put a lesson plan up that this particular lesson plan generated a significant amount of revisits, a number of logins significantly higher than others. And you could maybe look at your content and you could probably attribute that to the fact that maybe there's a video that they've hit more times than not. Well, maybe that gives you some indication as an instructional designer that maybe more graphics, or maybe that kind of video has generated the value beyond what you've normally put in. So you can extrapolate the data to value, what kind of response you're getting. So the reports are really going to help you tailor what you're looking for and get better results, but basically getting a better return on your investment with us.
Yeah, and there will be new fields that you're going to be able to see as well. So with the logins, you're now going to be able to see whether a user logged out by clicking the log out, or if they logged out based off of inactivity from the platform. So kind of an easy way to be able to see if maybe there's ways to incentivize your users to not be idle in the system by giving them rewards points on their lesson plans, or giving them rewards on their instructor-led trainings, ways to keep them involved and keep them excited, keep them in the system. Very excited to see where this goes. Power BI is a really corporate leader when it comes to reports and whatnot. So diving into another update, we will be having within external user sign up and self-registration, the ability for users to be able to assign themselves to a group directly from the registration screen. So this is great if you have a group that's going to be coming into the system that you want to front load in content for that user without having to go in after that user account is created. Because if you do have customers coming into the system, most likely there will be more than 1 to 3 a day. And as an admin, that can start to become a little cumbersome to actually have to assign content to each one of those users afterwards if they're not already attributed to a group. So here the users will be able to add themselves into either a parent group or subgroup within the system. And it will be a privilege that's based on the training platform. So not all self signups will have the feature. Within the registration code or page, just like the custom fields, the user will be able to have a field that will show the group code name. This would be a numerical text box that the users are going to be entering in a code that was predetermined to them. This code is going to be given to them externally from the system. So communication that the administrator is giving with the user. This allows for a level of security because the administrator is personally giving the user that code. The admin will generate a code similarly to where they would with an instructor-led training. They'll generate a code and then share that to the user. The user will then add that code, and then all information from that group will be assigned to the user front-loaded. The user will then be able to access the group information in the reports. You'll be able to see the user's flow from that group as they're accessing the training and whatnot. Any specific questions on adding users through groups? That will flow into an open forum and then questions and answers, how you want to see your trainings taken to the next level over the next year, as well as maybe ways that you've seen over the past hour to 2 of ways that you can enhance your training. This is a good way to communicate with other administrators on the call, maybe tips and tricks that you have seen based off of people's commentaries. You want to spearhead it, or I'll call on people?
I know it's tough to kind of throw things out now. Obviously, you can always reach out after the call, but one of the big advantages here is you can get a consensus on a good idea and almost force us into development. So if you've got some thoughts and some features that you'd like to see built out, please bring them up. I know some of you are new to the system. Some of you haven't touched it yet, so it's probably challenging there. But for some of our experienced customers, please, if you have ideas, throw them out now. And
ideas on how to enhance things that are already created. Doesn't need to be new developments.
I think, Laura, because our clients are so proactive with us on a regular basis, they're reaching us to us all the time, in which we're filling, and I understand that too. So that's one thing I would like to know, either to all of you guys here at Magnify or to our current users, is how do we, is there a process we're going to get from the feedback with the Power BI, which is our biggest rollout in the last, which will be in the last year, like what kind of experience are they getting from it? Or can we track, or are they going to get back to us, or how's that process going to work? Are each of you going to work with your current clients on that?
On our open forum FAQ section for admin, you do have the ability to kind of do a forum question and answer on there, as well as communicating directly with your account administrator on maybe different ways that you'd like to see it enhance or grow. That help center can be found based off of when you're logged into your admin account. Top right hand corner of the platform, you'll see a help center. That's where you'll see FAQs, as well as the ability to create a community forum and ask other administrators questions or ask us questions directly there, as well as the support boards and our direct contacts.
And we send that link out as a reminder to everybody, including our guests as well, where all of that is, so they can continue to keep bookmark that and do that, because I sometimes think that all of our clients get so busy as admin in Learn-WiseGo that sometimes they don't think about maybe, you know, do I have a question for another user or another admin? You know?
Yeah. We'll direct those through email. And then we also have a Learn-WiseGo blog that we post updates and tips and tricks onto every other Thursday. So that will flow through your email as long as you're subscribed. At the link that's on the screen here, Learn-WiseGo, you'll be able to access that blog directly from there. We'll push out tips, just as Glenn had mentioned, those type of maybe 5-minute reads or links to best practices, YouTube videos, or those forums.
I would like to, it doesn't have to be in real time, but I would really appreciate it to all of our guests and also our current users online today, if you could let your account executives know, or the folks that you're working with who've been demonstrating Learn-WiseGo to you, if you're a guest and a prospect, would you be open to attending an in-person users conference next year if we reverted back to in-person? It would be helpful because it lets us know whether or not we should go forward with that. Prior to COVID, as we had said, our clients would fly in all around the United States, and we also would hold one physically in Europe for our European clients. We obviously wouldn't expect them to fly to the United States. And you know, personally for me, I would love to have that back. But again, you know, that's just me. But I think we lose a little bit on Zoom. Because for the very reason is that I can't see you. I mean, physically we can have an interaction. So if it's a yes, and we get a majority from this call, we're going to actually hold it live. So this is your opportunity to express that. And if we don't hear from you, we'll just assume it's a no, because it's very easy to let us know. So just please respond back either now in real time or to your contacts and let us know. So I would appreciate that. We'd all appreciate that. Thank you.
I always say it's really fun to get to exchange emails with everyone throughout the day and also training calls, but there's nothing like shaking someone's hand and putting a face to an email. So I would love to do it in person as well and be able to see all of our clients.
Let's be real. If we don't have an in-person meeting soon, I'll be considered old-fashioned, right? I mean, I think I think we have all adapted, but just speaking personally, we miss something. We miss that. I think so. So now's your chance. Let us know, and we'll rock and roll next year in person.
You did mention that it's being hosted in Vegas, right, Glenn?
The Caribbean, right?
Somewhere exotic, somewhere fun, most likely San Diego.
Okay,
So,
we have some opinions in our chat box. So Sarah loved it the in person, and Ali wanted to do it in person. Ali, I will receive suggestions for where to do it: Barcelona, Majorca, for the European side for sure.
In addition, this has been recorded and will be shared post-webinar on our YouTube channel, as well as through everybody's emails. There any additional questions? Anybody just wants to talk about their training?
Not any, then we won't hold people up unnecessarily. Who wants to do the wrap up? We can all say our goodbyes. Well, I've got the floor, and then I'll leave it to everyone else.
Yeah.
Again, I can't thank you enough for everybody who's been online, and to our prospects. This is an indication of who we are, the kind of commitment we will give you. To our current customers, family. Let's keep going for many more years. Let's keep hearing from you guys on what else you want. We're good listeners and we're good implementators. We're not perfect. Bugs are part of software and part of life, and it happens. And when you guys push the system in ways we never intended, we love it, because that's just means that you're engaged, and we'll fix or we'll work out something. But we're in for the long term. So thanks so much. And from the feedback I'm getting, it looks like we'll be all we'll be in one place next year. So that sounds really good. I'm not committing to that. We just need to hear from a few more of you. But you know where I stand. No, it's not in Vegas either. No. Anybody else wish to say their goodbyes or whatever? We can do that and then we'll wrap it up.
I'll just thank everybody for their time and participation, and thanks to Laura and the team and Pam and Lindsay and Marish and for putting this all together. So appreciate the time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for all of our administrators that joined. We did have a very large representation of our US client base, so I appreciate everybody taking the time to jump on, especially early, late, depending on your time zones. I know that we're stretching all over the world as well as country. So appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you again, Sarah from NuVasive. We always appreciate your feedback. And thank you everyone again for your time.